Hey everyone, welcome to this class on sustainability and four levels of action. We have our guest speaker, Mike Janssen. This class is presented by SPORE, and we stand for Supporting Public Outreach, Resources, and Education. And we are a program by a nonprofit called Mycelium. So if you go to the next slide. All right, so SPORE is an outreach program of Mycelium. Our goal is to teach classes that we learn through the nonprofit Mycelium. And Mycelium is a Huntsville-based nonprofit. We're based in Huntsville, Alabama. And our mission is to accelerate the circular economy with open source technology. So we've done several projects. Our latest one is a farm bot. So we installed a gardening robot in a community garden that donates healthy and local produce for free to people in need. Then we've installed a 3D printing card in the library to teach kids, especially underprivileged ones, how to 3D print and make their own products. We've also installed a recycling center that converts plastic bottle waste to PET for 3D printing in the University of Alabama in Huntsville. So we do all these open source projects, and our entire mission is to accelerate a circular economy in waste, in food, and later on housing. So if you can go to the next slide. All right, so before we get started, I want to introduce our guest speaker here. His name is Mike Janssen, and he has over 30 years of experience in various fields of energy production, energy sources, focusing mainly on Department of Defense and its installations. He's retired from his role as the director of the program management of a Fortune 500 company, and Mike Janssen now works as an independent consultant focusing on a variety of educational approaches for sustainability related to energy conservation, environmental management, and account management. He's been a great friend of mine, sustainability advisor at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, and he has tremendous experience in teaching as well. So I'm very happy and grateful to have him as a guest speaker for us today. And I'll let you take it away, Mike.
Thank you so much, Encore. Really appreciate people taking some time out of their Saturday today, come and join this discussion. This is going to be a resource if you have friends that wanted to go through this. Well, they'll be recorded. You'll be able to have access to it, and really, this is going to be a chance for us. It's a small group, so if you have a question, if you have a comment, if you want to do something on a chat, let's just keep this a pretty open forum, and let's move through the material and to be able to get the most out of it. Um, Two major areas today of focus. One is to talk about what is sustainability, right? The next is how do you get action into sustainability? How do you take your ideas and this notion of a true definition of sustainability and to be able to apply it not just to your life, but around your inner circles and at higher levels. So this hopefully at the end of this, you'll say, okay, I get it. I see now the components of sustainability and okay, what's my action as a result of this? So I have this painting on the first slide here. And as I show this painting to a lot of different ages, a lot of different groups, sustainability and energy and all those, the question is, what is this? Who is this? Is this a man? Is it a woman? Is he or she young? Um, so as we look at this picture, we are able to, I'll bet you if we were in a classroom and I went down the list, each one of you would say, oh no, that's a young male. Well, he has hair, so he's younger than mine. But you would come up with your take on what that picture is. And you may even zone in on it, right? You may pick a particular feature. You would say, he's slim, she's this, or or you could get to that picture and say, I don't have a clue. Really, I'm not interested because it does not have enough clarity for me to really understand what it is. So are we missing the big picture on sustainability? You'll hear that word thrown around in all sorts of different environments, corporately, individually, socially, food, all these different industries use sustainability in some form or fashion. But today our picture is going to be, okay, let's come up with a workable definition, right? Something that we can agree on. So this picture, ah, you're is it cruel for me to leverage babies on my presentation? But look, there's no question the clarity on that, right? You know right away what that picture is versus these two individuals. When I look at these two, I see a long history, a lot of events, a lot of things that shape that where they are in their life, shape how their thought processes, all of these things that went into developing that picture, so much different than our first picture, and of course, much more depth than our three musketeers over there. Here's what this isn't about today. We are not going to. I could put 10 slides into this deck that would just scare you to death. All sorts of statistics, how much trash, how much pollution, how much agriculture, how does it affect women's health, our transportation. That's not what we're about today. We're going to talk about, like I said, we're going to talk about the process. What are the steps? And to be able to put that in the practicality of your life. Not underestimating any of these issues or not saying they're not important, but let's back away from all of our individual things and look at what I would say the bigger system. Okay. Look, I watched the news last night, and I was watching the fires both in Canada and the West Coast, the severity, and they used the word climate change. I don't know about you, but for me, if you want to divide a room pretty quickly, if you're at a party, you're at a family, like a Thanksgiving dinner, but if you're with a group of people and you say, this is due to climate change, boy, look out, right? You will really get into a deep discussion, and it can be polarizing. When we pick one individual issue, one trait of this business, any kind of one point of it, and you use that, you lose. You lose the ability to see a bigger picture, right? I am definitely not underestimating the impact of climate change, but we need to go on a deeper level. We need to be talking about other issues in addition to climate change to be able to do this as a bigger system. And of course, my gas can, I bet you all of us have used their vehicle today, probably, unless you're urban and you use the transportation. And something as simple as water. I live in Alabama. The water system is huge here, very important to me. And every year I get the report um, from the Alabama Department of Interior, and they tell me how many fish not to eat and which system. So what we take for granted, these common areas, uh, that's going to kind of shape our face as we go into this discussion. Okay, what's sustainability? We're going to start with, I would consider, a very simple definition, very applicable, and let's think about this as being able to develop our needs today without compromising the ability of future generations to do the same, right? We know we have needs today. We have transportation needs, we have food needs, we have clothing, we have all these different things that we need to continue on to satisfy our needs. But the problem with it is, the issue is, when we do those things and we compromise or we eliminate the ability for the next generation and generation after that to do the same thing. I can, since I've been in the business of corporate world for many years, I have seen the effects of decisions made that really compromised and, of course, stopped the ability for the future generation to do anything close to that. And we know that future generations are going to have as many, of course, more needs than we have today as we grow as a world, as a global economy. But let's peel it back a little bit further here. The big picture on sustainability, and these are the ones that I want you to start thinking about when you look at your decision making process on all your actions, from your home to your job to your politics and everything, is, boy, taking responsibility for life of all forms. Um, and those people that are looking to really better themselves, we here in the United States could say we want to restrict the use of certain energies in a remote third world country, but those people may be struggling to get just to a standard of living that would be out of somewhere out of poverty. And individual rights, we all get exposed to human rights in our own country, no matter how advanced we think we are. Those, how the community takes on those responsibility, recognizing systems that are interdependent. Look, you cannot take your body and say, my hand is independent of my foot, right? That system that's in place in our body has to work together to get the results that you want. Same with what we're talking in sustainability. For that next generation to see that progress, we too have to think in some kind of a system approach, that we start linking these things that we think are very individual, yet are tied specifically together. You cannot exist on an island anymore. This is a global world. Uh, your air, your water, everything is tied in on a global basis. So you have to start weighing the benefits of those decisions for future generations. Resources are finite. We just got to get used to saying that, and be able to know that what we're using today to produce and to make products and everything else may not be available in the future. And okay, I'm old, right? So if I think back 40 years ago, and I sat there in the energy world and said, boy, we can't make enough energy. Solar, wind, all of those technologies weren't even in the picture, not even discussed. Yet here we are today. How do we even imagine 40 years? You guys will be around 40 years. What would that look like? And what would it be that would be sustainable for that next generation and generations beyond that? Okay. Um, we definitely have challenges today. We all know that. I'm going to cruise through these semi quickly so we can get to a little bit deeper thought here. A population growth. The United States is on a decline, but if you look across the big blue marble, this capacity model is really climbing, right? We're looking at 9 billion people, and we throw out 2050 like that's some magical space and time way out in the future. Well, guess what? It's not. 30 years can clip by pretty quickly. And then as we look at this way we're consuming, the land needed per person per consumption is also out of whack. If the rest of the world says, I want to live to the standard of the United States, I want to have all the things that they have, there's not resources available on land and use and product that would support that model. So that's a big change. And we will fight for resources. I can remember early in the phase, I went to the Middle East and saw oil produced by shoving a pipe in the ground. Well, we don't do that anymore. The process and the cost for fossil fuels and how it compares now to renewables, that's a whole different game changer, and it changes that affordability to produce things like energy. Okay, so this would be course number 4, 5, and 6 to talk about climate change and humans' ability to influence. That's we just can't escape that. There's the scientific world is at about 95% in agreement that there is anthropogenic influence. So that's a big change for us. And this is the one that you guys are teaching me. You're teaching me today. This IoT and how wireless everything, right? I'm amazed at my own home at how the challenges are being met for communication, data mining, management. All these things are going to really change the way we do business on our supply chains and on Encore's favorite circular economy. All those things are going to be heavily influenced. And then now this is my last one on this, and scares me the most. We're at this tipping point in the world where we're looking at middle class and rich compared to poor and vulnerable of almost being at 50-50. You would say, fantastic, right? We have moved people out of this poverty stage, moving them into a middle class. But trust me, what it takes to support that middle class group on what they have, their needs, their desires, meat being one of them, when you move from poverty into some kind of middle class, to just the amount of meat products that you eat. So those challenges are going to be huge if we ever want to support another couple billion people thrown on top of it. How you doing? Everybody okay? Shake your head, yes. Good. Thumbs up. Good. That's great. Good. Good. Hang in there. All right. So here we're going to talk about the 3 Ps. And you think of that definition of satisfying needs today as well as in the future. These 3 bubbles exist in what we would say a system, right? If you look at people and their social well-being, the planet itself and how we manage and live within the environment, and then this profit, this economic prosperity, is as big a part in these bubbles as the other 2. And you probably, I don't have to tell you where sustainability is the best and does the best job, is because you're going to say, boom, right there. The ability of those 3 bubbles to work together and come together, the more you mash them together, the better sustainability is in those environments. Now, conversely, the further you drive those bubbles apart, the less working and more problems you have in trying to make this work. And you can imagine, think about this. You take an industry that, let's pick one. Let's go with the automotive industry. Profit driven. They have to make profit to stay in business. Their bubble could be huge compared to a social well-being. Maybe not so much in the United States, but if they're manufacturing in an outer regions of the world, those bubbles could get out of place, and that's a problem. So let's run down a few items. Well, you got to accept this, right? This is a cultural change when you're saying, I'm making decisions based upon these 3 bubbles, right? That's a different concept. If you're being driven by profit or prosperity, or your only issue is making social issues are concerned, it gets out of whack. So that's that cultural, and this is not just US or the developed worlds. This is culturally accepted around the world. We talked about this permeation of systems all working together, and then transparency. I've been in the corporate world, like I said. There have been times when you say, the public doesn't need to see this, or the stakeholders are going to be limited to these, and we're only going to address these issues. It can't happen in a society of good sustainability. Positive thinking, that goes. I would hope that would go without saying, but it does. You have to put that in there, and then to be able to get some feedback from all this. If you're doing the right thing and you're growing, you're making decisions. How do you get that back into your system so that you're continuously seeing improvement, and you establish some real goals, right? I put a goal on my family saying, okay, we're going to completely paint the house, um, and that's our goal. Yeah, I think my wife would say right off the bat, right? When? When do you expect to complete that? Do you expect to do this one room a day? Are you going to do 2 rooms a day? Are you going to change colors? How's that going to work? We got to move furniture. My daughter's in this room. So that feedback and those goals established gets us where we're going to have to get to get where we need to go. All right. Big picture on the 3 bubbles. Keep us rolling. Social well-being. This is a quote that you would say, let's do this, right? Hire the best people, pay them fairly, communicate frequently so that they know what's going on, give them some challenges and rewards, believe in them, and then just get the heck out of the way, right? Let them knock your socks off. Look at each one of you in your job. Boy, have you had these challenges even within your job to be able to say, we're getting the best, we're paying the good wages, we're completely in sync in everything we're doing. And I'm so happy with my challenges that I'm never going to leave this company. Yeah, come on. That's the pie, right? Here's what's happening. If you go, Encore spends time overseas. If you've traveled anywhere around the country, or you live in the United States, these are issues. For the social well-being as being disregarded, I don't care if you're manufacturing in 3 continents, in third world countries, or if you're in Huntsville, Alabama, guys and gals, these are issues, right? We cannot expect to have synchronization in our bubbles and sustainability with these things out of sync, right? They just cannot be. And they're tough because there are some places they're just not, the system and the process isn't in place to be able to accomplish this. It's the reality of it. And whose responsibility is that? It's the consumers, the employers, the leaders, us. If we're allowing a manufacturer to manufacture in an environment where the family is affected by it, no health care, whatever, and we're buying products, we are contributing in a very roundabout way, but a very specific way, as well as to be able to say, what's our role to make this happen? How do we get that bubble in place? All right, let's go on to the next one. I would venture to say that this group of people that I'm addressing now, even future groups that will watch this, is you've got some dial in as far as pollution, right? You're seeing pollution, you're probably sensitive toward it either, and you may even have a specific thing that you're really, really good at in this list. And others you may walk away from. But as we talk about a system, as we look at our way we live, what we do in our homes, how we're approaching this, these are the areas that are going to shape those bubbles. And picking one of them is good, it's better than none, but we've got to think about how does this tie together. Let me ask you a question. If you're a renter or you're a homeowner and you get your utility bill, maybe it's included in your rent, maybe it's whatever arrangement, but you get your bill, it says, here's how much money I pay for electricity, here's my water bill, here's my sewer bill, here's my trash bill. The next line is, here's the cost of air. Are we willing to pay for air? Well, wait a minute, that's free, right? That's a common, that's available to all people. Do you want clean air? You want dirty air? Well, for this area, we elect to pay extra money so that we can do measures to avoid pollution. And so you can see that would be a really pushback. That would not be socially acceptable. Wait a minute. Wait. Let's talk about this. But at the same time, I can drive to my local landfill and look at all of those on the list and say, we're out of control, right? There's no way we can continue to waste and pile up waste in this environment, my hometown, in my backyard, and to be able to say it's the right thing. This is one that kind of hits close to home because it affects your breathing, right? If you have any kind of sensitivity, asthma or any of those things, you may be seeing an increased problem right now because of the amount of particulate in the air coming from very natural occurrences, right? The fires out on the West Coast that have drifted through here. So what I've done is this is something you can really track in on your own environment. If you go up here, and I've got a link here, let's go there. So here's a tool. I use it here in Huntsville, Alabama. Um, as I've been here for about 25 years, I've seen this change over time. And like right now, if I for Huntsville, Alabama, we're at a moderate level of particulate in the air for pollution, being heavily influenced by the fires. So if I went right here to Chicago, they're inching up higher in the range because of the particulate that's there. Now you would say, "Oh, let's go pick on somebody, right? Let's go to New York." Huh, weird. So today, the air pollution level for Huntsville, Alabama looks to be twice as many particulates in the air than in New York City. Huh, I'll be darned. So again, this is how you begin to start seeing how these things affect you. You're not going to see 2.5 microns in the air, but you could feel it, right? That's when they start, if you look at this chart, they start giving you uh, why you should be concerned about it, right? Because of breathing issues, so again, this is a way for you to get synced in. Let's go back here. So there's all sorts of things that can affect those in the planet, both hard materials as well as all the way down to microscopic things that we need to be concerned about. All right. Who's the big bad guy here, right? All these corporations, they're polluting like crazy. If they wouldn't pollute, we'd be so much better off. They're doing is stuff in their pockets, and they're absolutely ruining the world. Okay, well, so industrial waste is a huge influence on our pollution and our systems, right? But there's some good things about it. I have gone in and spoken to an executive, a chief financial officer at a major corporation, and say, look, we want you to stop manufacturing. We want you to start using these products because they're good for the environment. We want to clean up all your water and do this today. You know how far I would get in that conversation? About 2 minutes later, I'm out on the street. But if I go in there and say, look, we can do these measures, we can find ways to change manufacturing process that could be beneficial for you. Instead of wasting this may be a cost savings, and this is how it benefits you as a corporation. Here's how it benefits the environment and the people that work with you, right? We have to have that bubble engaged because so many times that's where the money is. If you want to achieve something and you go to the to sources of money, that's where we can go and get things really truly done because of the market drivers that are existing in there. So to put that bubble outside of our two others won't work. That has to coexist in there, and to be able to go down and say, here are the things about profit and capitalism, prosperity, however you want to label it, that we have to work within, and why it's working that way, right? Capitalism is not going to go away. It's not going to. We're not going to do away with corporations. We don't want to do that. We just want to figure out how we can do it together inside those bubbles. Now, good and bad, right? Sure. In the negative side of it is big corporations can form a monopoly. You may have seen that in your phones or your or other cable systems. You say, look, we can't fight them. They can dictate prices. They can drive laws. They can do all sorts of things. But at the same time, uh, there's incentives for them to say, we are going to do this more efficient. This is the right way for us to do the products that the consumer wants. And one last thing is on this is please trust me, you as a consumer carry so much influence on this that you just can't imagine. If you quit buying that toothpaste, if we all say we're not buying that toothpaste anymore, guess what? They're not going to make that toothpaste. So when you make the decision, working within your decisions within a corporation or within a product line or within any consumables, if you are making the right decision, it will drive that industry. All right. Okay. Enough of that. We got the three P's. We understand that working what we want today is going to be affecting the future generation. So let's do the right thing today so we can do the right thing in the future. And it's those three bubbles. What are they? Um, the economy, the environment, and the people, right? People, profit, and planet. Now, how do we do this? Okay, 4 levels of action. Encore talked to me about this, and I've been dealing with this as far as my whole career, right? How do you get something from start to finish? How do you actually get people to change? How do you get them to adapt to something? And this 4 levels is very applicable to a lot of different social initiatives and even business initiatives. So in this case, when we're talking about sustainability, first off is you, level one. Each one of us has this level one responsibility. And it's your individual actions. What do you do daily? I taught a class when I asked everybody to walk through their house with a box, a cardboard box, and anything that they thought in the house could affect the environment, put it in. And the class came back and said, one box? Okay, do an inventory of so us as individuals, how we live our lives across the board, right? Not just okay, I'm putting plastic in a container. Uh, how am I buying products? What am I putting on my lawn? How am I getting from point A to point B? That all falls into level one actions, and it's extremely important. Next level, direct connection with family and friends, community, local involvement, and then level four, the real high level policy and economic changes. Here's the thing we find we meaning smart people, not me. We do a great job. We're getting better and better at working in the level one, but we tend to go right over to level four. And that's not bad. It's not, well, I'm not saying level four is not important, but we tend to skip over 2 levels that can really be influential, maybe even more so than at the policy level. Yes, I don't love going to Washington D.C. and sitting in front of my congressman, but that's in that level four, right? Yes, I like seeing the state of Alabama change initiatives on renewable energy. Yes, that's a good thing. But let's peel back a little bit these levels 2 and 3, and I think you'll see that that's kind of what we need to think about when we're going forward. Okay, still thumbs up, everybody. Everybody's still good. Can't see everybody, but this is where I love classrooms because I can pick on you so much easier in a classroom. All right, level 2. I've got two recycle bins in my house, and in Alabama you get these big recycle things, and they're limited what you can put in it. We don't do glass collection at the curbside, so I do what I do there, and then when I'm with my family, I go, "Well, what's up this? Are you having a problem with glass? What do you do for your hot water heater now? I've got mine down to 120 degrees, and the family's about ready to throw me right out of the house." This connection between you and family and friends is a dialogue that's unmatched, right? Because you're accepted within that group, right? They'll listen to you. They'll say, you jumped off the deep end there, but it gives you a different level of acceptance and teaching and knowledge, right? You can share those things between your family and friends, and that's a compounding effect, right? Next thing you know, your friends are going, you know, that Mike, he's way off the board because he's only painting with this type of paint. Do you even worry about that? Yeah, I got to do something. I got to quit using that pesticide because I think it's really affecting the bees in my back. So that's an important, very important part, right? As the box says, it's a force multiplier. Boy, let's go to three. Three is even, I think, is even more important, and here's why. And here's some practical examples. Now you should feel comfortable with your family and friends talking about these issues. If not, maybe that's the next shift for you to grow in your development. Maybe it's saying, I am going to put in a small solar cell at my house. That group will watch every bit of that. They're going to be concerned about every step you take in that process. Now, level three. In Huntsville, Alabama, my hometown, we have reasonably progressive group looking at energy production, pollution, and that. I still have the ability to go and make an appointment with that group, to go in and say, not going in and say, you guys are doing it all wrong, but at least I have access to a decision maker very locally, very accessible, and that person will listen to me, and how they act will depend upon how I present the message, right? But we have that ability. Let's back off of this, the city of Huntsville mayor. Let's go to maybe it's your church. Maybe you have a church campus where the buildings, you could say, look, why don't we try this one measure? You may have a guy or a gal that's in charge of grounds. Maybe it's the minister that you have. Maybe there is a council that you can, some kind of a council at your group that you could go meet with. But you have that influence. You can go do that. And let me tell you something that is so beneficial for that. You convince them to do one additional measure at your establishment. Maybe it's your workplace. Maybe it's at your office. That will go to within that corporation, within that group, their peers. That starts spreading, and that's what they talk about here. Moving from the middle out, not so much grassroots down at the level one, but now this level three can grow. And maybe a teacher said, you know what, we had a guy come in, a gal come in, and she taught us how to recycle plastics for our students. She's at a teacher convention. Well, what do you mean? How'd that work? Well, he had a demonstration of here's the products. They had a little tutorial. They did a project. They put it in place, and it lasts beyond that lesson. And that's the beauty here. That effects of that group tends to continue on and replicate over time. Okay. Think about it, right? This is the challenge for us as individuals, is to be able to take what we're doing as individuals, very good work, and translate that into level 2 and 3. Okay. All right. We're getting close to wrapping it around. Let's just go down the list. These are things that you're probably doing or already considering. It falls directly into our three bubbles, right? Um, uh, Easily falls in there. So you look at your home, you get that family dialogue. You're looking at your heating. I've got an electronic thermostat that I can change on my phone. Drives the family completely crazy by design. I do it purposely. Pesticides, insecticides, a water heater, all these things that if you really took the time to walk around where you're living, you can find more than you can imagine, all the way down to what car you're driving. Workplace, a lot of people have a fear of having this discussion, thinking I'm not qualified, or there's somebody else that does that. But I'm telling you, if you would just start at that, maybe at your lunch group, you have 3 or 4 people that you sit and eat lunch with, and you go, let's do something. Let's pick something, anything, and do it. Community, like I said, seek and understand what's going on. I'll bet you in every city that's every person that's on the phone within your city, there's some kind of a sustainability plan in place. What that is could be very, very simple, or it could be very extensive. Get a copy of it, read it, see how it fits you, see if it's you go, oh wait, this is trash. Boom. That's where you can come into the picture, and of course, political leaders. Um, we didn't downgrade level four. It's important as far as decision makers and policy. Know those people. It does make a difference. An administration approach on a national level can definitely drive results on sustainability. We've seen it. We've seen it good and bad. So that's our leadership trying to figure out how to do this as well. So we own some of that. Education. Okay. I encourage each one of you to pick one thing. Pick something about sustainability that you say, "Oh, I think I know about that." Maybe it's the Paris Agreement, right? Maybe it's uh, climate change. Pick a particular subject and do a little deep dive on it. Become not the expert, but you understand the parts and pieces. For instance, let's look at these real quick. And Encore, tell me if I can't see those. I have to share that. New share.
We can see. We can see.
Oh, you can see it. Okay. Okay, let me get out of this. Okay, cool little thing to do. Do it with your family. You go over here. It's real simple. It's put out by the EPA. You can put 3 people in your family, and you can say, "Here's my zip code." Get started. What this does is this kind of gives you a shopping list of what to be concerned about in your house. Um, you go through and fill out these things. If you don't know, guess what? That's an opportunity to learn about your particular environment. Things that you're doing today, you'll do it the next day and the next day. So when you get down through this exercise, they're going to give you an average. If you look to the far right of the screen, it says, "Here's you, here's the rest of the United States." Don't look so good. But it gets to look at things like how you're doing your transportation, how you're heating your house, how you're cooling your house. All those things are an awareness that'll help you formulate that decision making process when you want to do a project, especially when you want to talk to somebody in your family and your friends and all the other groups, right? Okay, so that's one. Let's go back and grab. Are we good? Thumbs up. You can see the carbon cycle? Good. If there's one thing I would encourage you to do, this is what I've done to my family, and it's been a game changer. It's definitely changed the way we argue about the about pollution and climate change and global warming. Just to understand the carbon cycle. How does carbon? We hear all these terms about um, different aspects of carbon cycle, CO2, and all that. This is just a great little site to go through. They've got tutorials, lesson plans, and they give you a really good view of what the carbon cycle is. And I'm telling you, this changes your ability to talk to people about that issue. It's I one of the people that I thought were very very knowledgeable. I said, "What's the largest collection of carbon on the globe?" Crickets, right? So I mean, this gets you into this. Not an expert, but it gets you where you can really start influencing people's thought process because you come to them and say, "This is really how it works." Okay. What do you think, Akar? You think that's a worthy effort that understand the carbon cycle?
Understanding carbon cycle, understanding the science behind the environmental issues, definitely is a game changer.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't. You don't have to be in your face about it, but when you're talking about it, these what are people throwing around becomes simple concepts for you, and you are able to say, "Well, no, wait a minute, no, that's really not the way it works." and it really builds up people's confidence in you as well. All right, let's go back to our deck. All right, next one. I think the next one will be a video, a quick video about a gentleman that really took action. It's amazing. Alcor, I think you may even know him or have met him before. It's an inspiration to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Maybe you've seen it already, but let's see if it's the next one. Well, it's not the next one. So let's talk. Let's talk change agent. Um, okay, you're going to be able to see this deck later, and you can it'll be YouTube. You can go back and look at these. All good stuff. But again, the bigger challenge here is how do you change your world and how you view it and how do you approach it with the through the eyes of sustainability. And that's why I encourage you to become a good consumer, right? Don't underestimate your ability to drive decisions in this world based upon how you elect to see it. I'll give you one quick example of that, and I think it's true. I taught a class at UAH, local university here, and the class said, "Here's one thing that we're going to do away. We're going to do away with fabric softeners. Our generation there will be no fabric softeners when we get done with it." And I go, "Oh, woof! Don't tell that to my wife. She loves fabric softeners." So I mean, that's the things that I see as we become better consumers, more knowledgeable. So let's look real quick at this eco challenge. I know I'm probably taking way too much time. Eco challenge. I like this site. Um, and there's bunches of them. And this is where you can go through and start looking at uh, challenges out there and discussion groups, support for these, all this different things about how we can do. Here's 30 days of seeing systems, plastic free culture, all of this, a campus challenge. So again, become educated on these issues, use the tools that are out there, and I think it'll be a real game changer for you. All right, now I think it's video time. Yes. All right. Can you see it, Alcor? Yes? Yeah, good.
All right, so he's been selected for the Champion of the Earth. He's based in the city of Mumbai in India. I actually had the honor to meet him in 2019 and even volunteer on beach cleanups with him. But he was a lawyer, and he had been practicing that for more than a decade. But eventually he came back home and saw beaches in Mumbai being polluted like this. And these are real sites. None of this is made up. This is exactly how it looks like, especially during monsoons. And the ocean waves also bring much of the trash back because rivers transport it, especially during the rains. So what he did is he started cleaning up every single day. Uh, for I believe many months, he was alone, and maybe a couple people joined him. But then
I think
people
it was
started
over a year. Yeah.
over a year, yeah, and he was alone. And then people realized, okay, no, this is actually making the beach clean. It's helping them fish. It's attracting more tourists, and they started doing these. Many people started joining, and soon enough, uh, they transformed a beach into like a polluted beach into something much cleaner, and set a world record, a Guinness World Record for the largest ever beach cleanup in the ever in history. And I believe it took 1.5 to 2 years to actually perform that beach cleanup. And still, I went there in 2019. It's the pollution keeps happening. It's a people issue. It's you can clean it up, but then if uh, the trash flow doesn't stop, it's going to keep happening. The efforts are still on, as far as I'm aware, and their team is still huge and supportive. But this is one example of how one person attracted such an audience and began a movement to simply help the oceans and clean trash and reduce pollution. Um, And what they're doing right now, I was also involved in, was collecting trash from slum, like poor areas which don't have waste infrastructure. And that's the reason much of this waste ends up in the rivers because there's no infrastructure to take care of it. So they're trying to build that to for long-term solutions. Yeah, so this is a he's a big inspiration, awesome person, very down to earth.
Yeah, thanks, Ankur, for doing that. Sorry about that, but it's happened to me a bunch of times. Not on that one, but it has happened before. So, okay, here we are. We're wrapping it up. Um, yeah, we talked about the face of sustainability. I think it's really us looking at our own face in the mirror. You know, how do we describe ourselves? How do we really do the three P's? Are we doing more than level one? Are we actively engaged in two, three, and four? Um, you know, do we even recognize the fundamental reason and the need to do it? And of course, I'm already answering to my grandchildren, to where I took my grandson fishing, and he goes, "Why is there so much? Why is there so much trash in the lake?" And it's a hard answer, right? So be that person, uh, to be able to say, I recognize the three bubbles. I am interested in social, um, environmental, and prosperity, and figure out a way to make that work. Okay, that's it for me, Encore. You want me to go to the next slide?
Uh, sure. I mean, thank you, Mike. And we can have a short Q&A session
Sure.
if that works. And if anyone has any questions, you can unmute and ask, or you can type it in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. So feel free to ask any questions now, and we'll do our best to answer them.
Yeah, if anyone even has something that they're doing that,
Yeah.
I don't care how small it is,
Hmm.
even if it's a level one yourself,
Yeah.
it all counts and it all adds up, um, and it all makes total sense.
One of our attendees is doing a climate action core in California. So if you want to share something about that, or what kind of work you'll be doing, we'd be interested, really interested to hear.
I just wanted to pull one point up. I did read that we will be getting glass recycling soon. I know there's somebody that's trying, but you have to pay for it. There's at least some people trying to get glass recycling in Huntsville. So that's
You
Yeah.
kind of exciting.
you would look at this community. You know, we're a high tech city, right? We're the manufacturing processes, the technology, huge, right? Yet we're throwing our glass into our huge landfill. So you think we could figure that out, right? Figure it out.
I don't know if I had mentioned to you, I actually work in, unfortunately, a company that makes plastic waste. We're a packaging industry, and we do have a new material science engineer that is pushing for recyclable film, which the previous management they did not. And so that's good to see that change, that push, because it's difficult when you're in that industry. It is difficult to get people to change their ways, as far as packaging. They've been making packaging for well over 100 years probably, and
Right.
trying to get people to change their ways from how they just used and dump in the 50s. It's I could see how that's challenging.
You know, that's a good point, and that's a good industry to poke at. But man, you could see so many of them, so many industries that are faced with that same challenge. And you know, it's a leadership issue.
Mhm.
It's us as consumers. It's all the above. So that's why if we just sit back and say, well, no, that's profit. You know, that's corporate. It sounds like people are really making an effort to show change there, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, it being in the industry, I do see that it is like I actually talked with this guy once, and I told him about how it's hard to find images for. I make presentations for him sometimes, and it's hard to
Yeah.
find positive images of packaging on some site of some uh, picture sites. And he's like, "Yeah, we're the bad guys, right?" And it's like, I mean, yeah. But like they do it's something that they actually do inside like in our facility. They do lots of recycling. All the plastic that's not usable, they'll recycle it. All the cardboard cores, pallets, they do a fair amount of trying, I think that but there's still a lot of work,
A lot of
lot
work
of
to be
work to
done.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear that it's somewhere on the plate. Maybe not the main meal, but it's there somewhere.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, I'm not sure if there are any other questions. If there are, please do ask or type them. We do have a guest named Chelsea, who is a volunteer with the solar organization and the climate action and AmeriCorps. So she helps with installation of solar panels.
Excellent.
So that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I would say, correct me if I'm wrong, Ankur, but this material is free for use. I mean, it's not protected by me or anything. I try to give as many references,
Mm-hmm.
all the references, and I've got a reference table behind this. So
Yep.
yeah, if and if you want an old man to talk about it, I'll even do that. I mean,
Sure.
this is an easy approach to get the word out, and I think it's beneficial. I hope it's beneficial.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Well, awesome. 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 So thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. And thank you, Mike, for doing this for us. The emails are wrong on there. I'll add your email later and email it out. But
Okay.
thank you all so much for joining. We're Spore. We have a social media. If you go to the next slide, our social media is at Spore HSV. But we'd like to thank our Patreons and sponsors. This class was sponsored by the Alabama Beginning Farmer Program, who paid us for sustainability and food-related classes. We'd like to thank Alex, Blasius, Benjamin Gray, and Jeanette, who are Patreons for Mycelium and Spore. And if you go to the next slide. So if you want, you can contact us at mycelium, contact@mycelium.ngo. Our Twitter and Instagram handles are at SporeHSV, very simple. And we have a YouTube channel and Facebook page titled Spore Capital and then space Huntsville. So if you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, we'll be sending out a link of the recording. And we really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being here. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach us at this email. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all.
All right.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you so much
Bye.
for joining.